Hey Flosstube, Pam here from stitchingbetweenthelines.blogspot.com. If you've read that blog, that's my blog. I've been a fan of Flosstube for a good 6 or 8 months. When I used to mention to people how much I liked Flosstube, they would say, oh, they didn't watch that, or they weren't interested in that, or they didn't enjoy it. But there has been such an explosion lately that I felt like I really just wanted to do it. I wanted to be able to talk about my whips. More than just read a blog where maybe sometimes I just scan down through the pictures, but listening to the people talk and as they talk about things and I think they say a lot more things than they would write, and it's more interesting when you get to see it and hear it and almost feel interactive. Not really, you can talk back to Flosstube, but it's not quite the same. But anyway, I'm on my 3rd video. Try number 3. We're trying to figure out how much storage space my iPad has. It could be very short. I don't know. It acts like it's recording along as happy as can be, but then the video is gone. But my little tiny test ones are still there, so I'm thinking I've outdone. So this time I'm trying it a little different. I'm videoing in the camera mode, and maybe hopefully I can move it over to YouTube. We will see. It's a learning process. Anyway, I have been cross-stitching for pretty much my whole life. I got my first stitching kit when I was 8, so that was like more than 45 years ago. It was just, yarn and a little stamped and kind of straight stitch embroidery thing. But I have done stamped cross stitch and needlepoint, and my grandmother taught me to cross stitch when I was 17. And from then on, there was just no two ways about it. That was my craft. That was my hobby. And I did, as a typical high school, college student, I didn't cross stitch a whole lot, but it was still going on a little bit in the background. You don't really have a lot of time for that. But when I graduated college, moved into my first apartment and was getting ready to start my first job, I started my job like on the Tuesday after a July 4th long weekend. And, if anybody who's lived in a dorm, you've got people and friends around constantly. Every minute there's somebody to visit with. There's people to do things with. And here I am in my new apartment, going to start my new job. I don't know anybody. I don't have anything to do, but, So it probably was like Sunday afternoon, and it was just so lonely. I don't think I'd said a word to a soul since maybe I'd gone grocery shopping or something. And I thought I would go find a cross stitch to do. So I went through my patterns and I found one, and I found some fabric, and I found the threads, all but 2. Back then, I didn't have cable in my apartment, and you probably got like 3 channels and maybe PBS. Sunday afternoon on a July 4th weekend, there was nothing. So, and also back then, the stores weren't open on the weekend, or Sunday afternoon anyway, but I had all the thread I needed except for two DMC flosses. So I drove to the mall, which was probably 15 miles away, all the way to the mall and back for 2 15-cent skeins of DMC. And anyway, I got back and I got started stitching, and I just remember the sense of calm settling over me. And I have the piece still. I went and found it and brought it so I could show you. So cross stitch from then on has been my thing. It's been my peace and quiet. It's been my pleasure. It's been, you can do it in a crowd. You can do it by yourself. And now with blogs and Flosstube, it's this world that, I don't know that people who don't cross stitch have any idea what we do and what goes on. They look at it and they say, I don't have the patience for that. But let me tell you, rarely do I ever do only cross stitch, like sit in a quiet room and cross stitch. That's not really the way it works. It's I have a little tiny bit of an obsession with being productive. One way or another, reading a book is being productive to me. So if I'm sitting and watching TV is not an option. If I am only sitting and watching TV, it's because I'm really tired. I will sew, I will read, I do just about anything else at the same time. I can ride in the car. I don't really cross stitch in the car. I read a book, but it's the same kind of idea. Idle time is not good. So anyway, I did this cross stitch, and let me show you the mom and the little boy on the beach, and just Ada, because that's what you did back then in the day, and DMC floss, and that was all there was to it. It was a really simple piece. And here I still have it all these years later, like 35 years later. It's been hanging in my oldest daughter's bedroom. I went in there and found it in the closet this morning. We've since, painted her room, taken down all her high school, college things. And this needs to hang in my sewing room, though, because if this piece meant that much to me, then it needs to be somewhere where I can see it and remember. What can you say? I even paid to have this a matte and framed. That's the thing. I get almost everything framed. Small things I might finish as an ornament or something like that, but I really make an effort to frame things. I will save up, especially in the day of one of the things that's so awesome about cross stitch. Back in the day, I'm going to say that a lot, I'm sure, because I've been doing it for so long, but when I was a young stay-at-home mom, we didn't have a lot of money to spend on anything, and I could spend maybe $20 and have a cross-stitch that kept me busy for 6 months. I never did small things. I only did big things. If I was going to spend the money, it was going to be something that was going to keep me busy for a long time. But I would save up, and I would find a framer. I've been fortunate to have decent framers wherever I've lived, and taking my stuff to be framed. I still do. Still, my frame shop that's somewhat nearby has a sale every February and August, and I just make it a habit. I take things in February and August. She gives me the sale price year round because I'm such a regular, but it's the idea that these things were worth my time and my hours, and every inch and every fiber of it has been touched by me. I get them framed and they hang somewhere mostly. Seasonal things, I cycle them out, take them down, put them up, just prop them somewhere, whatever. I really do enjoy and appreciate what I've done. I don't give a lot of it away. It's kind of, people don't always appreciate it. And, I did a wedding sampler for somebody once and they got divorced. That's kind of heartbreaking. You kind of wonder, where did that ever end up? So anyway, that's how it goes. But I stitch and I stitch and I stitch. It really it brings me peace and it brings me happiness. And the YouTube world has just opened up so much. The friendliness, and to see that other people are home in the evening cross stitching away and, thinking about where to buy the next really cool kit, or where can they get a thread, or, that kind of thing. It's just been so much fun and such an explosion and so much interest. It's just wonderful. Stores and designers must be delighted by this whole YouTube thing, because somebody will show or talk about a video or a pattern and you'll have to go buy it. I mean, you'll be right on the website that they mentioned buying it. So they really, I'd be interested in hearing a shop say what an explosion there's been every time somebody mentions the latest whatever they bought and wherever they bought it. But anyway, so I'm a mother of 3. If you read my blog, you've seen that. They're grown pretty much. My youngest is in college. I retired. I worked in a court, and I retired when my youngest went to college. It's an emotionally exhausting job working in a court. You get to see people at their worst, in the worst moments of their life. And after years of it, I used to say I'd seen it all, and then there would be something new, and you just can't even, it just defies description sometimes. I'm enjoying my retirement, where I sew a lot. I do some community service work. I'm out a couple days a month at an organization where we work all day doing some nice outreach work. I'm active in my quilt guild, in my church guild, in the library, in the book clubs. I'm in a couple book clubs. I read. I try to read a book a week. Sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. I count my audio books that I listen to when I'm sewing as a book I've read. So when a book takes me 2 or 3 weeks, it kind of balances out, because I'm also doing an audio book in my sewing room, or while I stitch, or while I'm riding in the car. So there's that, which is nice. My kids, I was a stay-at-home mom. I stayed at home when the youngest ones were babies. The first 2 were close together, and so I had, my hands full. But I could cross-stitch during naps, and when they got a little older, when they were watching TV and whatnot. I was working by the time my 3rd one was born. I only ever worked part-time, so there was that. But I'm enjoying the retirement thing. I highly recommend it. so I'm a productive member of society still. I'm out doing my work and the good deeds that I do and the organizations that I'm involved with. So I'm happy to say that. Happy to have time to do that. And cross stitch. And quilt. I quilt. I sew like it's my job. I tell people. I love to sew. I love anything, that's in that sort of crafty realm, I guess. That's it. Those are my hobbies, though. Cross stitch and quilts. You got to draw the line somewhere. My girls got into scrapbooking, and I tried, but it wasn't my thing. So anyway, kids mostly gone. One of them comes and goes when she's on break, but even she works away from home all summer. And when she's home, she works. So I really, I'm proud of them. They've done well. So anyway, my husband and I fill our time. He works. He's not retired. So that helps. And we have 2 cats, 2 brothers, they'll be around. They're both in the room. They just haven't come up on the table yet. We always have had cats. We had other, kid-related pets when the kids were little, goldfish, and we had a dog, and always cats, though. And we went for a little bit of time with no cats, and I just couldn't do it. So we adopted these 2 that are supposed to be brothers. I'm sure you'll see them as time goes by. One is 8 pounds and the other's like 15, 16 or 17 pounds. I lost track. He's just such a sweetie, but they were brothers and, supposedly, and they were abandoned. My bailiff in court was also an animal, is also, well, he was my bailiff, is still currently an animal control officer in our county. It is shocking the number of people who abandon their pets, move away. These 2 boys were indoor cats, and they were left, shoot out the door, and they weren't outdoor cats. They didn't know what to do. So when we adopted them, they were just delighted to have a home to come to. And sweet as can be, they don't leave my side. They're fun. They're into everything. They're why I could never show a piece in a fair, is because there's cat hair stitched into everything I've ever done. So, but that's, I'm not interested in fair. I do show my quilts, though. I have shown a number of quilts, and I have won ribbons and I've won money, and that's kind of addicting. So let me just say, there's going to be some quilts that are going to be shown, but I don't show cross stitch. So anyway, I didn't bring any whips with me to show today. I do not have any long-term whips. I challenged myself in the last couple years to finish. I had 2 long neglected whips, and I took them to Florida with me. I spend a little bit of my winter time in Florida, and I can cross stitch for hours on end, and just days and hours. It's just fabulous. And I challenged myself to work on those, and I finished them, and they are framed, and they are in this house. I posted about them on my blog, and maybe I'll get them out someday. They're, not the most significant pieces. They were started and disliked for some reason or another and neglected, and it's just not my style. I didn't start them because I didn't want to do them. So, but what I did bring is 2 of my favorite pieces. So let me show you the first one. This first piece is Jenny Bean's Christmas sampler, and it is just, I loved putting every stitch into this piece. I loved the colors, I loved the threads, I loved stitching it. It was just fabulous. And I think, I didn't keep track of this kind of stuff back then. This isn't that long. I think it was 2010. This is done on 40 count, which, holy cow, I cannot see 40 count. I don't know. There's not a lot of 40 count going on in my life right now. Even doing 1/1 on something like 32 count is like a little bit more than I can do. But hey, look, you can see outside. It's a snowy day here in Western New York. First it rained, and then it was freezing rain, and now it's snow, and it's been going on since who knows when. And it's pretty. The roads are a nightmare. I'm staying in, and there you can see what it looks like. This is the view out my window over my desk, which is why it's hard for me to get any work done, because it's just always so pretty out there, and there's deer and, interesting things that go on out there all the time. And anyway, there's the view. There's the lovely cross stitch. I had this one matted. It's actually a suede mat in a frame. So this was one of the ones that I was willing to go the extra mile on the framing of. It hangs in my dining room year round. Lovely, lovely piece. I think you can still get it. I couldn't swear. It came from Shakespeare's Peddler, which isn't in business anymore, but if another store happened to still have the pattern, there were a number of Jenny Bean samplers. But this is the one I really liked. And then I did, this is a Mirabilia, and I'm not a huge huge, Mirabilia fan. They're beautiful pieces. I'm not going to say they're not. And I actually I have a couple around that I'd like to start, so I'm not going to say never. It's just that my walls and my style are not the Mirabilia ladies kind of style. So